Hi, friends. Are you an aspiring software engineer currently in college? And do you feel super confused by college recruiting timelines? Or do you feel like once school starts, you're just lagging behind all of your other friends that are doing recruitment activities? We know the struggle is real. And on our channel, we're here to help college students navigate the crazy landscape that is software engineering college recruiting. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what companies are doing at any point in the given year so that you know what you should be doing to optimize your personal recruiting success. My name is Kim. I've been recruiting college students for 10 years for various software engineering companies, and I'm really excited to share this content with you today. Kicking it off, we're going to start in the summertime before it all begins because companies are thinking about recruiting their college students up to a year in advance. In the summer, which I can kind of consider May, June, your recruiter is going to be pretty busy ramping up their internship program, onboarding their interns, getting them settled. Just know that your recruiters might not be super responsive if you're reaching out to them during this time period. After they get their interns settled, they're going to move into getting their hiring plans ready. And specifically, they're going to be working on what we call in the industry their headcount planning. Headcount planning basically just means that they are going to define a specific number of interns and a specific number of full-time positions that they are going to hire through the college recruitment process in the upcoming year. With that, they're also going to define a budget so that they can spend that money on recruitment events for the upcoming year. Recruitment events, that's going to be all the campus visits that they're going to be doing, going out to college campuses, running events, doing college career fairs. Typically, if you go to a school with a top 20 computer science program, you have a good chance that you are going to have a decent amount of in-person recruitment activity. The larger the program is, the more schools that they will visit. And if you don't go to a top 20 program, no worries. There are other ways for you to meet recruiters in person. Companies typically also go to national STEM conferences run by various student and professional organizations. So the main ones that they're attending, kind of in order of when they typically happen, there's going to be ACES, which is American Indian Society of Engineers and Scientists. There's going to be the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing, or GHC, typically happening in early September. We got also the Society of Women Engineers, and although that is not exclusively a computer science conference, you're going to see a lot of tech companies attending those conferences looking for computer science talent. So SWE, Society of Women Engineers. And then the last one that happens in fall is SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professionals and Engineers. There's also one that happens in March, NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, but that one's kind of happening later in the season. The ones in the fall, that's when recruiters are going to have the most number of openings available. Another thing to note is that if you are a student organization who is planning on hosting a hackathon, or you're hosting some kind of student-run career fair and you are looking for sponsors, or you're looking for companies to either donate their money or attend your event, the end of July is the absolute latest you would want to wait in order to reach out to those companies and invite them to these events. You want to make sure that you're allowing these companies and their representatives, ample time to budget, not just like the time it takes to go to your event, but also the money that it would take to attend your event. So hit those companies up no later than July if you're going to host those events and you want to invite them. After companies have figured out their plans for fall, that's when they're going to start transitioning into actual recruitment activities. In the late summer, before companies head to campus, they're typically going to spend some amount of time sourcing candidates online. Typically where we look, LinkedIn is a very, very popular platform that we're going to be looking for candidates on. We also use Handshake, which is a job posting platform that a lot of colleges are using. Also, we're going to be looking at resume databases hosted by schools and their departments, or maybe hosted by student-run organizations like SHIP, NSBE, or SWE. We're also going to go back and look at lists of candidates that we've met in the previous recruitment year that maybe were a little bit too young for the program. So maybe like freshmen and sophomores who weren't quite ready for the internship that we had met the previous year. We're also looking at those types of resources to build out the list of candidates that we want to try to go for before the recruitment season even starts. And last but not least, companies will typically post their job applications for the upcoming school year in early August, late August. So they're typically posting summer internships and full-time positions basically a year in advance. So you want to keep a lookout for that. So now, knowing what companies are doing, let's talk about what you as a candidate should be focusing on during the summertime. First and foremost, summertime is typically a time when students aren't attending classes. And yes, we want you to use your summer to enjoy and to rest and to recharge. We know you guys are doing so much during the school year, but it's also a great opportunity to make sure that you're adding something to your resume that helps you stand out among the crowd this upcoming fall. So if you already have an internship or you have a research position or something like that, maybe some kind of organized skill development thing that you're doing that's going to help showcase an experience on your resume, that's great. That's like the thing that you're going to be writing about to make yourself stand out. If you don't have an organized situation like that, no worries. The beautiful thing about computer science is that you can do a project on your own, or you can do a project with your friends. We recommend doing something in the realm of at least 40 hours for it to be substantial enough for you to be able to talk about when you're meeting recruiters and engineers this fall. You can look at resources on our channel to find ideas for how to do your own project. Next, you should also be investing time in practicing for the interview process. Now, I would say 90% of what we do on this channel is helping you prepare for those software engineering interviews. And during the summer, that is prime practice time for you to be investing in your interview skills. During the summer, we typically recommend anywhere from 10 to 20 hours per week. 20 hours is probably, you're going to be very, very prepared. I would say minimum 5 hours. 10 hours is kind of that sweet spot of like not being burned out. 2 hours a day, take a break on weekends, but make sure you're investing that time to prepare yourself for those technical interviews. Next, you want to make sure you're organizing yourself for a good fall. And that includes making a company list, researching what are those interviews, what are their interview processes, what are those things that they're looking for, maybe light networking with friends, reaching out to friends and finding out, hey, what has your experience been like with these companies? Just organizing yourself so that you're going into fall with a plan. At the bare minimum, make a list of your top companies that you're really excited about, maybe a prioritized list, like your dream companies, the companies that you would be excited for, and other companies that just are known for having good internship programs, or maybe programs that are recruiting heavily from your school, so that you are prepared to focus your time where it counts when we head into the fall season. In addition, make sure that you have very up-to-date profiles on all of the most popular platforms that recruiters are going to be at when they're sourcing this summer. I mentioned LinkedIn, Handshake. Make sure that it's easy to contact you. Include your email address. You don't maybe need to include your phone number if you don't feel comfortable posting that information, but at the very least, include an email. If you don't want to include a personal email, set up an email account that's just dedicated for recruitment activities, but make it easy for recruiters to get in touch with you, okay? And typically companies and recruiters like to work using email. They might also use like the LinkedIn messaging platform or the Handshake messaging platform, but first and foremost, email is the way that recruiters typically tend to prioritize wanting to speak with candidates. So make sure your email is easy to find. And last but not least, we recommend that as soon as job applications are open, do not wait to submit your resume. I know it can be really scary putting yourself out there. In general, recruiting is like a very vulnerable process where you have to put yourself out there, where, subject yourself to judgment, scrutiny, criticism. It can be a lot. And a lot of times what we see for students is they tend to kind of freeze up and just, really want to iterate. We're all computer scientists, right? We want to iterate on things. We want to make things better. And that also kind of can apply to resumes sometimes. But honestly, as soon as you see those job postings go, you just got to pull the trigger, put yourself out there. You have to keep in mind that the thing about recruitment is it's kind of like a first come, first serve situation. Recruiters will talk all the time about how they're trying to find the best, the brightest students, but really recruiters are just trying to find students that are going to be good enough. Students that are going to be good enough to pass the interview process, students that are going to be good enough to pass the internship, to get that full-time offer. We're not literally reviewing lists of every single candidate that there ever was to pick like the top 100. We're just basically, we have a stack of resumes or a stack of applications, and we are going through those until we fill all of the spots we have available. So don't delay. Make sure you are everywhere and anywhere a recruiter can be. Make it easy for them to find you to increase your chances of getting the invite to the interview. That's what this is all about, getting as many interview invites as possible to increase your chances of getting that offer. So that's what we're doing with summer. Let's head into fall. So fall, I loosely kind of define as August, September, October, November. That's basically what the fall recruiting season is. And this is by far the busiest time for recruiters. It is truly bananas for us, y'all. So let's talk about all the things we're trying to hit here. So first and foremost, we are trying to connect with candidates in person, whether that be on campus, at our targeted schools, or at the national conferences that I mentioned before. We have a great desire to connect with as many candidates as possible. This is not just to build our company's brand name as far as just what we're literally offering as a company and what our opportunities are from a recruiting perspective, but really what we're trying to do is we're trying to meet as many candidates as possible to get an extra data point on whether or not we want to invest additional time, and investing additional time means advancing you in the recruitment process. Do we want to interview this person? Do we believe this person would do well in an interview? That's really the extra piece of information that we're looking for. Because here's the thing, when it comes to resumes, all y'all start to look the same, like basically all y'all start to look the same, right? You all have some kind of leadership activity. You all have some kind of great coding experience. It's actually really hard to differentiate yourself in a stack of resumes. But when it comes to meeting you face to face, that's when as a recruiter, I can really get a sense for, hey, would this person do well in an interview? And that's at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find as many candidates as possible that will pass our interview process. So being able to meet you in person gives me the opportunity to get that needed piece of information. And again, leading into this, when recruiters get the number of positions that they are going to hire for, we do a calculation on the number of interviews we need to make. There's literally math involved. It's strategic. I know it can feel really random sometimes when you're going through the recruiting process, but if a company has their ish together, they are actually being pretty strategic about the number of interviews that they are going to conduct. And as a recruiter in the fall time, I am just looking to fill those positions with the best candidates I can find at the time in order to increase the number of offers that we are able to make. At the end of the day, remember that recruiters are just trying to fill the positions that they have. Again, if we can fill them with the best possible candidates, amazing, but there's this concept of good enough that recruiters don't talk about. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to get those positions filled. Next, as we move candidates through the recruitment process, we're starting to get candidates that are being successful at interviews. We're starting to roll offers out to candidates. Recruiters tend to, towards the end of October, early November, really transition into shepherding their candidates through the offer process. And we spend quite a bit of time trying to get our candidates to accept those offers. Again, at the end of the day, we're trying to fill those spots. So that's what recruiters are really focusing on, basically in late October, early November. So as a candidate, what can you expect during the busiest time for recruitment? First and foremost, you're going to be spending a lot of time trying to attend events. Again, especially if you're at a targeted school, especially if you're in a top 20 program, you should expect to have a decent amount of recruiting activity happening on campus. So it takes time. It takes time to attend the career fair. That's usually an all-day event. It takes time to attend those recruiting events. And I know sometimes it can feel like, hey, is that worth my time? Is it worth my time to go to these events? And I think that sometimes it can feel like such a drag, or it feels like these conversations are so short. It can feel like, is that a place I should be investing my time? And I want to tell you right now, it is worth it. I would say that 75% of my interview spots go to students who I am meeting at career fairs, who I'm meeting at these conferences. And again, the reason for that is because that's an opportunity for me as a recruiter to really get a gauge on, hey, is this person gonna be good in an interview setting? And you just can't see that on a piece of paper sometimes. So A lot of times when I'm having an event on campus, even if it's like an informational session, I always make sure to give some time at the end to meet candidates one-on-one. And I will bring representatives with me in order to increase my chances of meeting as many candidates as possible. So it's definitely worth it, especially with the like recruiting events. It can kind of feel like, oh, I know all the information already, or all this information I can find online. The one thing you can't find online though is a real person in real life who's willing to talk to you. So yes, prioritize going to these events. And I would say straight up, y'all, on career fair day, y'all should be skipping class to like make sure that you are investing the time to be there. And again, we know being a student can be so crazy, and maybe traveling to a conference can just feel like a lot, but companies do a lot of hiring at those events. So it is well worth your time to go. Next, making sure that you're spending time applying online. We recommend at least 100 applications during the fall time to increase your chances of being able to get those interview invites. I would say a lot of times when I'm coaching students on, where their pitfalls when it comes to what are they not doing enough, submitting applications is one of those places where students tend to kind of not invest as much time as they should be. The nice thing about submitting applications is it's literally just a resume upload. You don't have to write a cover letter. That's not really a thing that recruiters are looking at anymore. So just make sure you're spending time getting a minimum of 100 applications in the fall to make sure that you cross that off your list and know that that is not a place where you are falling short. Next, just like in summer, y'all, it's all about interviews, right? Like, truth be told, everything that we're doing, a lot of the advice that I'm personally giving you on this channel, it's all to help you optimize the number of interviews that you are getting. And interviewing takes time, y'all. You always want to be interview ready. You never know when you're going to get the call. And here's the thing about scheduling interviews. Again, recruiters, we're just trying to get butts in seats. It is a first come, first serve situation. Something that I see a lot of students struggle with is they feel really nervous about not being ready for the interview. And sometimes we'll try to delay or reschedule interviews if they feel like they just don't have enough time. And I want to caution you away from doing that as much as possible. Now, if it's with a company that you don't really care about, or let's say you've gotten a ton of interviews this season, or you already have an offer and you don't feel like interviewing, that's totally fine. But I'm talking about for the people who haven't gotten their offers yet, or they're just starting their recruitment journey, it is important for you to accept those interviews and schedule them as soon as possible. Now, I will say I've seen students, and I've been in this situation as a recruiter where I will run out of positions before I even finish interviewing everybody. So again, the earlier, the better. Do not delay. Do your best to get in as soon as possible. In the spirit of that, one thing that you should definitely be doing as you are navigating and juggling all of these different recruitment activities is as you start to get those interview invites, be transparent with all of the recruiters that you're working with around recruiting timelines. So, let them know, hey, I'm going to be entering final rounds with this company next week if somebody's trying to start recruiting with you. That way they know that they need to hustle and get you through their interview process as soon as possible, because they're going to assume that you're going to get an offer from that and they want to take their shot at being able to recruit you too. So there might be some weird advice online I've seen on like Reddit, CS career questions or CS majors, where it's like, hey, how much information should I be sharing with the recruiter? And for me, I would say as much as possible. Let them know exact dates. Let them know who you're interviewing with. That helps provide clout on your end on what are the companies that are going after you, right? Like, I know for me, subconsciously, when I find out that a candidate is being chased by other companies, it immediately makes me feel like that candidate is more desirable in my eyes, because they literally are, because literally other companies are going after them too. So it will motivate me as a recruiter to hustle harder for you if you are able to share with me exact timelines and exact companies that you're going to be interviewing with. So taking a look at this list, y'all, one thing to note, I know there's only 4 bullet points here that you see on the screen above me, but recruiting in the fall takes a crazy amount of time. Most candidates that I poll, especially if they're a junior looking for an internship, or somebody who has 1 summer left before graduation looking for an internship, or if they are a senior looking for their full-time, meaning that y'all are in kind of your ideal time for recruitment, those students are spending anywhere from like 20 to 40 hours a week on recruitment activity. And what this means is that you should be very careful in scheduling your academic schedule in the fall to be as light as possible. I know it's really easy to take on so much, especially, if you're studying something like computer science or computer engineering, chances are you're a high performing student, a very academic student. And we've always been told to really, really focus on our academics, but nobody tells you how time consuming fall recruitment can be. And at the end of the day, guys, what's the whole point of getting this degree if we're not going to get a job for it afterwards, right? Like something insane like 75 or 80% of y'all are going to go into industry. Like at the end of the day, like that's what we should be dedicating our time to. So just make sure to clear your schedule in the fall to make it as easy as possible for you to dedicate time to those recruitment activities. Last but not least, for those of you guys that are in the quarter school system, I just want to remind you that a lot of times recruiters are recruiting at both quarter schools and semester schools. Now, if you're at a quarter school, that usually means that you start your new academic year in late September, early October. For semester schools, they're starting in early to mid-August. And what that means is that a lot of times quarter school students can be kind of caught off guard because by the time they start school, we're already halfway through the fall recruiting season. And semester schools get a little bit of an advantage because they start early. And as I've been reiterating here, it's all about first come, first serve when we're talking about fall recruitment. So just be on guard for that. Don't wait until school starts if you're on the quarter school system, and even if you're on the semester school system, to actually start your recruitment activity. We don't want you to miss the boat. All right, heading into winter, we're looking at some downtime. I just want you guys to be aware of what's going on here on the company perspective. So typically, recruitment activity you're going to see a huge slowdown, especially when we get to kind of late November to like mid-January. And that's because in the US, a lot of people are going on vacation between Thanksgiving and the New Year. And what that means is there's not as many engineers available to conduct interviews. So that heavy recruitment activity, you're going to see slow down just because there's just not an availability of people to conduct those recruiting activities. Recruiters are also using this time to basically review and assess the number of students that have accepted the open offers so far, and they're going to be making adjustments and tweaks to their interview numbers and their recruitment activities when recruiting picks back up again in mid-January. So it's pretty slow here. You might not hear a lot from recruiters. Also, if you're trying to get interviews scheduled during this time, it can be kind of a hustle in order to get movement on that. And again, it's just, you're going to see a big slowdown here. That's what's going on the company side. On the candidate side, this is a time if you have received several offers or you're making a decision on an offer, this is the time when you would be doing it. Most company deadlines you're going to see are happening basically kind of towards the end of October, end of November. Companies are really looking for you to make a decision on what your either summer plans are going to be for internship or what your post-graduation plans are going to be. So note that winter is typically the time when you're going to be making those decisions. For those of you guys that are still looking, don't worry, it totally happens. There are way more students in this position than you would think. People just don't talk about it. Winter is a really good time to recharge. Recruiting is absolutely brutal, you guys. Like, it is very, very easy to burn out on recruitment activities. And it's really easy to kind of just feel pressure if you don't know what's normal and not normal. And I would say during the holiday season, I really want to encourage students to just take a breather, take a minute. And once you kind of regain your footing and feel like you've had good rest, then you can take the time to reorganize your recruitment activity, right? Reorganizing means, hey, reviewing the list of companies that you've reached out to, maybe updating some applications, maybe reaching back out to recruiters and sending out some emails, knowing that when they come back to life in mid-January, hopefully, they'll have you top of mind. But first and foremost, definitely take the time to rest and know that it's okay because recruiters are resting as well. You're not missing out on too much if you take November and December to just chill out a little bit. The thing that you want though is you want to be prepared to get back into the swing of things in mid-January, because recruitment activities will start to pick up again basically from mid-January to end of February. Most companies are trying to finish out their recruitment by the time spring rolls around. And that leads us into spring. Companies basically are just trying to wrap up any last minute hiring during this time. I would say like by mid-March, late March, there aren't a whole lot of positions left. And I say that just to kind of prepare you guys for expectations, right? Like it's not impossible, but like pretty much companies literally plan to be done with recruiting by the time this rolls around. And really what they're doing is they are refocusing, reshifting their work hours to prepare for the upcoming internship season. Now, as a candidate, absolutely, if you are still looking, don't give up. I say go for it. You never know. I have hired candidates like in April. It's not impossible, but just set your expectations, right? This is probably a time where you want to start shifting your focus to prepare for the next season's recruiting cycle. So sometimes you will still see recruiters out on campus, maybe attending some events, and really they're doing that thinking about the next year's recruiting season in mind. It's still totally worthwhile to make those connections if you can. So if you see those opportunities out and about on campus, you're still looking for jobs, or even if you're just wanting to get ready for the next season, I think it is worth your while to invest in those opportunities if they pop up on campus or near you. And then we're pretty much just at it, doing it again. We're all basically just existing on this merry-go-round of the university recruiting, academic calendar, scheduling cycle. I basically just explained to you what a university recruiter's job is in this whole entire video. And we know it can be really overwhelming, but hopefully with this video, you are better prepared to understand where you should be investing your time and when you should be investing your time. A lot of times with recruiting activity, it is a very timely situation, right? Be there at the right time, meet someone at the right time, meet them when they have a position open, meet them when they have an interview slot open. A lot of times, getting a job, it can just be about luck. And we just want to make sure that you are prepared as possible to receive those lucky opportunities when they come your way. So if you have some more time, stay on our channel. We've provided a ton of resources to help you get prepared for this software engineering journey. I'm Kim of Kim and Casey. We got your back. You got this.